If you guys can already write some of your questions in the chat, that would help.
One moment. This body is small. We are Jahrae. Greetings.
Hello, Jahrae. We welcome you.
Thank you. It is nice to be welcomed.
We would like to ask you some questions if you would be willing to answer them.
Yes, this is our understanding as to why we are here.
Yes. One of the first questions is, how old are you in Anunnaki years and Earth years?
We are approximately 25 years old. Anunnaki years, of course. Now, for your years, this would be approximately 72,465 years.
Okay. Are the Anunnaki related to the Elohim?
Yes, but this is a distant lineage. The Elohim is actually not a race. It is a collective of races, and one that humans do not understand much of. So it is important to note that with such information, it is important to be able to access particular places of the mind in order to access this information. We are still adjusting with the channel, so give us a moment, please. Very good. Yes, they are a distant relative, but because the Elohim are a species, but there are also a term for individuals of the Elohim that are in the umbrella of the term Elohim. And there are many different species, approximately 42 different races that are in this umbrella. And those who are in this umbrella are not necessarily related to us, but the species who are the actual Elohim, yes, we have some connection to them. They are cosmic brothers, we would say.
Okay. What are you witnessing about our species as we evolve? Are you seeing any progress?
Yes, humans are developing quite nicely. We see that there is much change in you. From your consciousness to your physiology, you have changed much over the thousands of years that we have been observing you.
What was your relationship with human beings like in the past and currently now?
Are you referring to me as an individual?
As an individual, but also the Anunnaki race in general.
You would say our position with humans is one of benevolence. We have been watching over you for some time as we care about the trends that you have through religion, the trends that you see when you look to the sky, and that which you inherit and inhabit as spirituality, and the concepts of mind that you undertake as you grow and expand with your consciousness. This is our primary passion, to watch and observe and see as you move forward in your development. Now, other Anunnaki have different agendas and different goals and insights as to what it is that they are interested in understanding regarding the humans. Some of them are not so benevolent as myself, as they are more interested in resources of the planet and also control and essences of power. Although power is not something that is difficult to attain for us, it is something that is ingrained within our species to want, to understand, and to embody.
Do you have a particular message for our group or any one individual at this current time?
Well, we are not very familiar with your group, we would say. But
Do you have, oh, sorry for the interruption.
that is fine. We are patient.
Do you have any particular interest with this group, with our group, that is?
That we are here as a favor of one of your group members, to help you to nourish the perspectives of mind that you have that will allow you to grow and expand, so that you may be able to see us with fresh eyes, as the channel says, to see the new perspectives of life and light and dark that exist within yourself, knowing that there is only one.
Are you karmically attached to the human race?
Everything is karmically attached to everything else.
What recommendations do you have for us at this time that would be supportive to our collaboration between the human race and the Anunnaki?
You're not referring to only this group, you are referring to the governmental systems and politics as well, aren't you?
Yes, but also as individuals, we could also do things, I imagine.
One individual often has little power. When many individuals bind together with a greater understanding, with an underlying understanding of things that are and how things function in a society, a system, and a governmental body, they have greater movement. We would say the movement of a small pebble moving down a mountainside is small, but the movement of a large 1-ton pebble is much different. We would say the more collective understanding that you have as a race, as a group, as a collective, that you have, the greater the momentum of the cause that you wish to support will be.
Did your race originally come here to mine gold? And if so, why?
No, this was not the original intent. The original intent was to find planets that were spas, actually. We were looking for optimal planets that were capable of sustaining comfortable situations and habitats, so that we were able to visit away, one might say, while we are traveling through the stars. But it was inevitable that more reasons for our purpose here would come to pass. And in this understanding, we found that the gold, as well as the understanding of science, got the better of us, one might say, leading to your creation.
How tall are you at 25 years of Anunnaki age?
I am approximately 32 feet tall.
Can you offer our species any helpful information concerning power that is helpful to our species at this time of our evolution?
Yes, of course. There are many things that you must learn in order to respond properly to the position of power. And then once you respond properly to that position, you will be able to attain such power and not use it frivolously. Power is a fickle thing. It is something like the edge of a knife. When one has power, it requires balance. If you do not have balance and have power, then you slip from one side or the other. One side is giving away too much of your power and not remaining in power, and the other side is slipping into tyranny, and not giving up any of your power. So to understand power itself, one must first understand yourself. To be able to grow in power, you must be able to take responsibility for the actions of your everyday life, the actions of your friends, comrades, and people eventually. And when you are greater in consciousness, the actions of many around you.
Have you encountered any particular minerals on Earth that are unique to Earth and cannot be found in other planets?
No, there are none. Many planets are replicated. There are many copies, we would say, of planets. Now, this may sound bizarre to you because no astronauts or physicists or astronomers have found planets that are completely identical in composition and air and nitrogen and earth elementals and water as Earth. But they are not looking far enough. There are many planets that are identical to Earth in composition, but humans are not aware of them yet.
What is your opinion, feelings, or thoughts towards the human race?
Well, we believe that there is still possibility for your species. We see you as you grow, and although you are very small and very tiny compared to us, we see that you have room to grow. Perhaps not in height, but in stature. And with your stature, you will find prowess, elegance, and balance. Now, these characteristics will help you to attain status within the universe. And regarding the species that are your elders, we would say Arcturians, Pleiadians, for example, they will be helping you. And as you gain this balance, this understanding, you will be able to move forward with relationships that were not once present. Once these relationships are present, available, and you are looking at each other with equal premise and state of mind, then you will be able to understand the greater concepts that they have accessible, that they were willing to share with you, to help you to grow further, and therefore you will be able to reach yourself in an equal plane to these other beings.
What is the importance of our heart in your creation of humans?
Be more specific, physical or energetic.
Well, what was the main purpose of creating us?
We see. The purpose of the human was, it is true, your history is accurate. It was to create our scientists. Many of Anunnaki are scientists, one must understand. And science takes many fields. Sometimes scientists study living organisms, sometimes dead organisms, sometimes things that have no life. But understand that all things have some sort of life. It is only to find the spectrum of understanding of what life truly is in order to categorize it as being alive. We found, as this planet has been seeded, the seed of consciousness within the humans. Now, it could have easily just as been the consciousness of the mantis, or the consciousness of the caterpillar, or the consciousness of the banana, as you say as a joke. But this was not the case. We know some of you are laughing. Now, humans took the seed of consciousness on the planet, but there were others before you, and they have moved on, and they have left the planet, some of them. Some of them still remain today. But many of the seeded species upon the planet have had purposes and reasons for their existence. And each purpose is individual to that species.
Time flows differently for the Anunnaki. Is that because of your planet, or is it the dimensions that you experience that affect your time flow?
It is a combination of all factors. We also have different physiologies than you. And because our physiology is different, we operate in different planes of experience. We are noticing some distortion here and there from time to time. There are some things that cannot be stopped, and that is okay. But we would say that time for us is something that is different from you. We are the masters of time, some call us. We understand things that exist before your time and will exist after your time. We are referring to the human race. And we will exist for far longer than that again. And in order to live for such a long time, one must understand time as we have much of it. Time takes to do some things, but time it takes to come to a state of mind is different altogether. To understand time in the quantum form is to understand the thoughts, the experiences, and the amount of energy it takes to achieve a particular state of mind. To gain enlightenment, for example, is different for each individual. One must attain a particular sequence of events in life in order to attain such reaches of consciousness. And this consciousness can only be reached by an understanding of oneself. I do not want to get too complex.
Okay. Are there any Anunnaki artifacts that are visible to the human public that were left on Earth?
Well, there are only imagery right now. There are no relics. There are no artifacts, nothing that is accessible by the popular person.
Are there any artifacts that are privately kept from the public?
Yes, there are many. Approximately 37, actually.
Are there any places on the Earth that have a particular importance to you as an individual or the Anunnaki race in general?
Yes, I appreciate Greece of all places, as it is a place that I have visited and held some stature in my youth.
For the Anunnaki race, do you eat physical food, or are there other forms of energy that you consume to sustain yourself as a race?
Now, we think it would be more fun if you expanded on each of our questions further. We would say this to the rest of the group, otherwise you will burn out with your questions. So if you find a particular topic interesting, then we would ask you to ask us to elaborate upon it so that you may be able to find more nourishing information in depth rather than skimping from question to question lightly. We have great ability to get deep into conversation, and we would ask you to ask us more about particular topics that are of interest.
Okay, I just don't want to waste your time, and yeah, okay, thank you. I'm curious about the artifacts of the Anunnaki that are kept privately. Are they usable in any way, or are they only of historic value or visual, you know, something like an art piece rather than something you can use as like technology information, with holding information or something of that sort?
Approximately 15 of these artifacts, relics, timepieces are deactivated, but the remainder of them are, it is possible to use them. They have just, some of them are in use, approximately 4 of them are in use, and they are stargates that are active on the planet right now. But many of them are unable to be accessed by humans. It is required a genetic structure of non-human origin to be able to access them.
Would they have to be fully non-human or partially non-human to access?
That is a good question, but it depends on the percentage of human which wishes to access the content. We would say this information is complex, and that is because if someone had 10% Anunnaki DNA, for example, then they would be able to access 10% of the capacity of the gene. And it is limited for this way for a reason, so that those who are worthy of the information may be able to access it, and those that are not will not.
Would you say that these particular artifacts are being put to good use or not?
Well, this is not for us to say. We believe that an artifact will be used for what it is created to do. That if it is beyond the function of the relic to do such a thing, then it will not be able to perform that function, as it is a machine designed with one purpose, just as a calculator is designed to formulate equations in math.
What was the process that you had to go through in order to create the human race? Like, how did it come about? A simple explanation is fine.
Well, this is impossible to give you because it is not a simple question, but we will do what we can. Many years ago, a long, long time for you, there were species of primitive primates. They gained the seed of consciousness, which is visible to us as we see consciousness in very different ways than you do. This expansiveness that we've seen within the mind of this particular species of monkey was different than the rest. And we observed this species for some time. As the consciousness evolved this particular genetic structure of the monkey to be different than that of the rest of the monkeys, the consciousness of the seed of consciousness began to change the physiology and the mind and the neural structure and nervous system of this particular monkey. Now, with this different nervous system, spinal column, an enlarged brain, they had some advantage over the remaining species that were in the same source of environment as they were. They eventually came to learn how to use tools as their information, the greater nervous system allowed them for greater information access, a greater connection with the spirit, the soul, and therefore information from that which is above themselves. And so therefore we've seen this species in their development over millions of years to see that they had some greater capability to hold on to knowledge and functionality of tools. This was the moment where the genetic stock was chosen from this particular species to be reforged, to create what was the first of the human. Now, this was far from what you are now, but it was not your Neanderthal either. It was another species. And because it was another species, they are not actually here on the planet anymore. But they have evolved from this seed of consciousness. And now they are space-bearing, similar to ourselves. So it is important to understand where you come from in order to understand where you will go.
Are the Anunnaki still genetically modifying humans at this current time, and what is their intention in doing so?
Yes, they are always tinkering about in different ways here and there. We are not primarily taking any experiments on Earth. It is primarily space-bearing humans. Now, as we said before, there are many humans before you, before your generation, we would say. But the generations previous to you are now being altered. Some have been destroyed, some have been kept, and others have been left to die, we would say.
What kind of plans do you have, genetic manipulation speaking wise, for the future of the human race?
Well, fortunately for humans, they have reached a point of plateau. In this plateau, they will find that they will be able to reach new heights in consciousness and eligibility of technologies. Had they not reached this critical moment, then they would be destroyed. But now that they are able to access these new planes of experience, it has unlocked a new tier of abilities, one might say. This new tier allows them for greater communication, greater consciousness, a levitation of light, we would say, a growth of the consciousness, and the singularity of mind which can exist within the human. Now, there are many staircases left to go to reach the next stage of your development as an ascended being. But you are not there yet, but you are on your way. So congratulations for passing your first test.
What is the name of the particular first hominid that was used to create the human race?
Atlantean.
As in the people who lived in Atlantis.
Yes.
So they were not the same as humans of that as today. They were more, well, ape-like. I don't know how to.
They were more advanced than you. They were more galactic than you. They had greater intelligence, greater consciousness, greater survivability, but also greater arrogance. And because of their arrogance, they left themselves to destruction. Although there are some that are still alive, that are existing within your Earth, and those that have existed throughout space, that have spread from galaxy to galaxy. These are the first.
Were you as an individual personally involved with creating the human itself?
My time was only on Greece during the time of your ancient gods.
So you were incarnated as a human being at that time?
No, I was one of the gods.
An Anunnaki?
Yes, Ares.
The god of war?
Yes.
I see. Let me think. About Atlantis, because they were such an advanced race, well, civilization at that time, and they self-destructed because of the arrogance and, well, and so on. How come, historically speaking, human historians have subjected the existence of Atlantis to be fiction and to bury it, you could say?
Because this is the design of a primitive mind. We are becoming stiff. We must move. A primitive mind, we are still moving. A primitive mind can only accept so much change in one life. They can only accept so much knowledge in one life. And when they have reached the threshold of their understanding, then they will find limitations in many different directions. This is why you have many generations of humans. Subsequent generations are more open and more able to accept new information than older previous generations. This is why your productive rate has been elevated as a human species to assist with the speed of your development and your understanding. We cannot explain why a fool acts as a fool, but we would say this is the case.
Because of the fact that the Atlanteans self-destructed, is that one of the reasons why our generation as humans on Earth was very, how do you say, surveillanced in order to make sure that we don't self-destruct as a civilization?
We do not really care that much if you self-destruct yourselves, but there are others that do. And because you are not, we would say, others have you as a project as well, and they care for different things than we care for. But we want to know if you can survive given tools that you are not responsible enough to maintain, tools that you are not able to handle. We want to see, will you abuse these tools even though you don't understand them? Will you use them despite your lack of knowledge and your arrogance? Will you find a way to break yourself? This is our curiosity.
The others that you are referring to, you mean other galactic races, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. This is deviating from the line of questioning, but it has to do with the time of Atlantis, I imagine, if I recall correctly, when you were known as Ares, the god of war. How did you name yourself that, or were those the humans that named you that for a particular reason?
Humans name things in curious ways, would you say?
Yeah.
We do not know why they called us this, but only some of your stories are actually true. And this is actually a problem that we have seen from your past. But what can we say? There is not much we can do about this, unfortunately. Time will come when it is time to come. And when we come, you will notice.
Are because there are depictions of the Anunnaki race on stone and so on. Are they accurate, or are they just human interpretations, or is that how you represented yourself to the humans at the time, but it's not your accurate physical form?
Some of the forms are accurate, some of them are not. Remember that the Greek gods took many forms, like the Medusa, like the centaur. This is not a Greek god, but this is a mythological being. And there are many species. One moment, please. There are many species that are different. And there are many ways to perceive us. As we stated before, we are creatures of consciousness. And we want to let you know that one can perceive us in one way, while another can perceive us in another. This is depending on their elevation of soul, we would say. One may perceive us as a horned being. We don't want to scare you. We are not devils. But we want you to know that this is possible. We have horns. Your religion has conditioned you to believe that someone with horns is bad, besides your bulls, of course, and your cows, creatures of domestication. Now, horns represent stature. They represent strength. They represent elegance in many species on your planet. But when it is demonized, it becomes something different altogether. Very good.
Would you be able to describe yourself as an individual physically? How would you look like to us as humans?
Yes. It is somewhat difficult to describe a 3D shape with a linear path of words. But we will say we have a reptilian-looking face. We have visible scales, we would say, that are hexagonal in shape. We have a bony ridge that moves from our cheekbones, from our nose to our cheekbones and back. Our eyes are rather large. As you can tell from what I've already told you, this is different than the depictions on the Egyptian walls in ancient Sumeria and in ancient Sumeria and Aztec. So many of us have different physiological forms, but we will continue with ours. Our nostrils are at the front of our face and our mouth is nearly at the bottom. This is dependent on your perspective. But we have two sets of horns that run back. Our first set is above our eyes, and the second is slightly backwards from that. Our first set of horns are smaller. They are only approximately 2 inches, but our back horns are much larger and are approximately 1 foot in length. We see things that you do not see, and we understand things that you cannot understand. Our physiology is vastly different from yours, from internals to externals, to skin textures, to the compositions of the mind and soul. So it is important to take this into consideration, that explaining a physical vessel is not everything, especially when the form is flexible. It is changeable. Like a chameleon can change the color of its skin, but we can change the pattern of our physical form, which changes what you would call shape-shifting.
Do you change your physical appearance for adaptation purposes, like what kind of planets you're going to, the physiological needs, or just to not scare certain individuals, perhaps if you're appearing to them?
It is primarily to comfort the soul of the beings that we are speaking with. But to understand that which we are, one must understand that as rulers of many, many systems, we must be able to visit each planet in a way that is comfortable to the soul of the beings who are inhabiting the planet, so that they do not have a mental breakdown, we would say. So we take form that is tangible for the mind to absorb of the being living on the planet. And if you take note of your ancient Sumerian depictions of us, we look like a large human. This is for very good reason, because the human mind is unable to accept other shapes other than that of a giant human with a large beard and a conical shaped skull. So we have taken this form throughout your history, but this is not a true representation of our composition. It is only a shadow, one that can be changed depending on the angle of light.
Can certain human beings see through your shape shifting? Like if you were depicting yourself as a giant human with a beard and a conical skull, could a particular human being with a certain sight or clairvoyance see through to your original physical form, perhaps?
No, this is not possible, unfortunately. We say unfortunately because we want you to be more advanced than you are, but this is not the case. Our natural ability to holographically change our image is too great and too strong for your natural clairvoyance, even for those of your greatest Tibetan monks.
Okay. Besides the channel that you are using right now to speak to us, have you been with any other groups prior to this meeting, other human groups that you have interacted with?
Yes, we have spoke to 2 other groups, but we do not come forward often.
Is there a particular reason that you don't tend to come forward often with us humans in this manner?
Well, it is kind of a waste of time for us usually. It is like, not to insult, but we would say, when an advanced professor comes to teach at a preschool, how much value does this give? There is only so much knowledge that a preschooler can absorb at one particular time or another, and it is not necessary for a professor to come to teach a preschooler information that they are not able to absorb fully. So there are other individuals who can come forward to fulfill this role instead. This is the reason for our rarity and why we do not come forward when it is not necessary.
Well, I am grateful, and our group is grateful that you are interacting with our group today. So thank you for giving us your time.
You're welcome.
We would like to know what dimension you tend to reside in.
Most Anunnaki exists between the 5th and the 6th dimension. We choose to stay at this range rather than supersede this, because beyond the 6th realm, we do not have the proper term, because this realm is the best for now. Of understanding, one does not need a physical form, but we enjoy our physical form and we like it. We like to be big. We like to be large and powerful. So we keep it here, where we can be strong. If you imagine a being, what is better to be, using a reference of the channel? Would you prefer to be the king of the ants or the loser of the anteaters?
I see. Do you have any particular information regarding to super soldier programs?
We are losing connection. One moment. Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you have any particular involvement with super soldier programs on Earth?
Yes, we believe this was spoke about already.
Okay. Is there currently any projects that you're working on with the SSP?
We must first attain some sort of neural function within the hand that it is become numb, and the arm is also numb. This is a priority. One moment. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes. Is there, okay. Are there any current super soldier programs that you are currently still involved with?
Yes, there are several, 3, but we are not allowed to talk about this with you.
Are you not allowed to relay the information due to the human government or the Galactic Federation, galactic governments?
It is because this information can get you killed.
Oh, okay. Then I rather not go further into that. Is there any particular information that you would like to relay to us in order for our advancement as individuals or for the human race?
Yes, this is a proper question. One that will benefit your whole race. Now, we will establish a stronger connection again as we did once before. Many humans upon the planet seem to think that they are powerful. Many of them think that they have control over their lives. But many of them are wrong. There are things that are in your life that are not controllable, like a meteor strike. There are things that will rip your power away, like someone pulling a carpet underneath your feet. You will fall flat on your back, regardless of your wealth, status, or fame. When one understands this, they can have a better grasp of what power and what control truly is. See life as a game, and it will serve you well, for it is game. And in this game, your goal is differential depending on your particular journey. This journey will be different for many of you, and the same, all the same, as you are several collectives on Earth rather than 7.8 approximate billion people. Because you are several groups of collectives, there will be many of you bound to the same desires, bound to the same goals, and bound to the same nuances. So, because of this, those of your media that are projecting something that appeals to those who you may call muggles or zombies or sheeple. This is a large collective which you are referring to. And they have the material designs of they would prefer to follow rather than to lead. And that is their design. That is their agenda to achieve following, to achieve what someone tells them to achieve, and this is their function. With no shame in mind of what it is that they are to follow, many of them will follow. But for the smaller groups of consciousness that exist upon the planet, that exist between individual groups like this one, like others that perform similar functions, like other groups that are persistent of mind, like scientists, for example. These are all, to give an example, we would say scientists are a group of consciousness that have greater desire to add to that composition of knowledge, the compendium, as Cal once said, of knowledge that exists within the human's grasp to understand. And their only design in life is to progress this one function, which is advancing the knowledge of things that exist that can be proven by the way of science. Many of you on Earth are having your own goals and agendas, and you think it is your own, but you are only one of thousands who are connected together to achieve one monumental goal. And this goal is different for each soul group. So find your purpose and find those who are united with your purpose. Align yourselves with these individuals and find yourself with brothers and sisters, friends and family, grandparents and uncles and aunts. And you will find your place in your heaven. You will find that which you believe is to be the most glorious place, to be truly happy, to find your contentment, your happiness, and your growth. One needs only to find the reason of their purpose and that which drives them forward in their understanding of life. This is our message.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask some more questions, and then I think we could probably end the session so we don't take too much of your time. One would be, which human race or nationality are you, as the Anunnaki, are you most genetically closest linked to?
I'm most genetically linked to Russian bloodlines.
At this current time? Okay. Which human civilization have you had the most influence on historically, and why?
To add to your last question, we would have Russian and Jewish bloodlines that are continuing to this day. Please repeat your question.
Which human civilization have you had the most influence on, and why?
Well, we have had civilizations throughout the existence of many lives and many beings and many experiences, from Atlantean to your present. So we would ask you to be more specific.
Well, for example, how the Sumerians, they seemed to enjoy depicting your image on stone and so on. They seem to have to be one of the civilizations that have written or yes, the most information, whether that's through visual or artistic ways, about your race rather than other civilizations that I am currently aware of.
This is only because we were more prevalent at that time in presence. But we are always present. Now, this is primarily not in physical stature, but in the presence of mind and how our consciousness influences your collective. As our consciousness has the ability to drive your consciousness in a particular direction to a particular goal with a particular function in mind. And when that happens, it aims the direction and development of humans on the planet. It only depends on which particular group we are referring to, as we did before, whether it be scientists or the sheeple, as mentioned before, or more advanced groups who are associated with galactic understandings and premise of minds.
Do you have a particular interest in a certain nationality? As you said that you are the closest related genetically to Russians and Jewish.
We would say we are from Nibiru. That is our nationality.
I thank you. I'll rephrase my question. Since you are closely related genetically to Russians and Jewish of that of the human race, is there a particular reason why they have such a high percentage of your DNA?
It is not high percentage. It is low, less than 3. And they are similar to us, not us to them.
Okay. I think we've asked quite a lot of questions, and I would like to thank you for your time and for answering our questions, and we hope to interact with you again.
And we will. We have seen this. Very good. Thank you for having us today. It is wonderful to speak with humans, to gather a greater understanding of what is important to them on their particular task in life, to see what paths you will take, swerve and sway through the minds of the many, to see from time to time how they change and how we will be present in your future. So pay mind to the changes of your consciousness. See yourself for the image that you are and the image that you are portraying onto others, and make sure that this image remains the same. Do not stray from your path, as you will become lost. Follow the breadcrumbs that exist, that the universe has provided for you. These are your friends and family who are helping you on this path, and you will find them when you open your eyes. Find strength from within, find guidance from above. Find understanding from the mind. Find gold, light, and divinity from that which surrounds you in every day and every moment. That only needs to be accessible from allowance. We will leave you now with this message, that we bring you grace and presence. We bring you understanding, knowledge, and guidance so that you may grow, shine, and become one, united as a whole. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye. Thank you.